Here we go. Where are all my friends? Episode 5, Adam Elmakias. I am really hype on this one. Adam is an extremely accomplished photographer and also overall, all around great human being. We became very close. We both lived in San Diego and I got to know him as a person so much more than just his work. And I really do love the person he is, so I was extremely excited to sit down and tell his story. To tell you a little bit about him, if you don't know his work, he's worked with, some crazy artists. He's done some crazy shit. He's worked with Diplo, Major Lazer, Lindsey, Stirling, Day to Remember, All Time Low. He's shot a ton of festivals. He is a Sigma Lens ambassador, as well as Think Tank Bags. Like, he is damn accomplished. He has made his own publication called A Music Photography Magazine, where he's collected a bunch of different photographers and featured their work in this beautiful magazine. He's done so much. At the beginning of the episode, we talk about an exhibit that he's featured in as well called Contact High, which is like a whole history of hip hop through film photography, and it shows like the contact sheets of the images that weren't selected and then like the iconic images that were selected. And there's like Biggie with the crown and like Mac Miller's hands on the keys and like Outkast album covers and MF Doom, and like it's at the Annenberg photography space, and we joke about like me not knowing how big it's gonna be, and sure enough we get there and I was like, oh holy fuck, this is like a huge deal. Like Anderson .Paak played and like all these photographers are there. It was this incredible thing. So to paint you a picture, he is an extremely accomplished photographer. In addition to that though, he just has a really cool story and he's a really cool person. Like he views, like his outlook on life is really fucking cool. He grew up in some turmoil. Like he dealt with a lot of shit in the early days, and he talks in detail about it, like depression and just like it got dark, and just hearing how he overcomes that and hearing how that all ties into his story. And it's really, to me, it's pretty inspiring. I love our dynamic in the banter. Like he's very direct in the way that he talks, and like it's just this fun story, like this back and forth. And I tried to get as much like gems and knowledge out of him. We also talk about like what he's doing now. Like in addition to all of the photography and all that, like he's actually an incredible Magic the Gathering player, and like he's gone on to like just do all these cool, unique things in his life. So I just think he has a really great story, and he's just a really dope person. So kind of feel like I'm rambling, but I really wanted to preface just how cool all of this is and how it all ties together. So I hope that paints you a picture. As always, if you like the episode, share it on social media. That is the most helpful thing. Just a screenshot of the episode, tag us, in whatever way you want to share it. I don't care. Tell your friends, anything. It helps a lot. I'm at Andrew_FTW. He is at Elmakias, ELMAKIAS. There you go. Let's get into this episode. I'm really excited that you're here. It's rare that I get you in LA, so I'm stoked that you're just here. That's dope. We're going to a really cool event tonight, which I'm stoked on.
Oh, I'm excited too.
Tell me about that.
All right, so tonight we're going to this gallery, which is kind of cool. It's at the Annenberg space. So if you're hearing this, actually, it'll probably still be open by the time this is out. It's out for like until like August or something, and it's a history of hip hop through photographs. And most of the people's photos were taken the year I was born, or from like when I was still in school, and then all the way up to, I think mine is one of the most recent, with the exception of, I think there's XXX and Mac Miller, which are more recent than mine, and those two photographers are under 30 as well. But we're at the end cusp of the age limit.
Yeah, like for the most part, you've got some like OG legends in this exhibit.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about photography, but to give you an idea of how OG they are, every other person in this exhibit shot film.
Damn, really?
Except for me.
Wait, even the other two young dudes shot those on film?
They shoot film.
What the fuck? You're literally the only digital shot in this whole gallery.
Yeah, because the concept is like your shot and then your contact sheet. So I don't know if it's supposed to be public that I didn't shoot film, because I had to make a fake contact sheet, but I don't think they made it look like film. I think they just said, here's other digital shots. I also think mine is probably one of the only live photographs. Everybody else's is like a portrait.
Oh, wow. That's
So-
kind of fucking cool that you like got into that then.
Yeah, I don't know how she found me. So it's curated by this lady named Vicky Toback, and it's based off her book she made called Contact High, and it consists of like, the book's sick. I've yet to get mine because I got left out of the loop there, but she's a busy woman. And but I'm very grateful, and it covers a really since the beginning of hip hop, basically the start of it. So this is like 79, I think it was, in New York.
That's so sick. I love stuff like that because it feels like projects like that feel more like a legacy than just like going out on tour and shooting like something like, oh cool, here's a tour. Like it's like when you're in a gallery and exhibit like that, it's like, damn, like this is history. Like
It's got some weight to it.
Yeah, right? Like it feels more than like, it feels substantial.
It legitimizes the movement. Like it puts it down in stone, and it sets like I don't know, it says, here's what happened. It's like a history book she made. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's dope. And I'm so excited like for myself because I've kind of heard you like explain it to me and I know a little bit about it.
And you like hip hop.
Oh, dude, I love it. But like
and
tonight, I'm excited. I intentionally don't want to know too much about it. So like we can roll up there and I'll just be like, what the fuck, dude? I have the feeling that it's going to be even more legit than I think. And then I'm going to like look at you tonight and be like, whoa.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. I'm excited too.
So yeah, that's what brings you to LA, and I'm very stoked. That's a very good reason for you to be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's take it back. Tell me like middle school, high school, like what do you like?
Yeah, I guess like I was a problem child my whole life, according to my mom, like one of the worst kids, but not like I was a bad person, just like super attached to my mom, a lot of tantrums, like almost like the kid on the flight you didn't want on your flight.
Wow.
I like had issues with basic things like reading, writing. I basically had special classes for everything.
No shit.
Yeah.
Starting at what level
starting
of
in
school?
Second or third grade.
Whoa.
Well, I had a problem with writing because I was like I was learning Hebrew and English, and I never really learned Hebrew, but I got confused at a lot of things. I remember trying to convince my teacher in kindergarten that I could see air. Like I remember like just like a weird kid. I had a lot of issues with, I don't know, late potty training, like going to school and not doing my homework and being loud in class and going to the office. Just like misbehaving across the board was just like my general thing. I had a lot of like my best friend from third to fifth grade was a girl with Down syndrome.
Whoa.
Her name was Chelsea. Actually, sixth grade, we were friends too. But then there was like a rumor out that I liked her, and I got really embarrassed, and we stopped being friends. And then, but yeah, she was like one of my best friends when I was younger. And then I had like some guy friends that I played soccer with, and yeah, and I'm kind of just scattering all around. I don't really. You gotta have to guide me more. I'm just gonna fucking go, man.
No, like I'm like I'm very interested in just like that. Like that's I didn't know that you like were such like the problem child with all of that. So like
Yeah.
take me to middle school. Take me to like because I know that you found music. Like you found music at a certain age, and that was a big piece of you wanting to get into photography, right? You found music and then wanted to start shooting it.
Well, I wanted to be in a band. But I didn't do anything. Like I didn't do stuff. Like the only thing I think I ever did consistently so that I could get good at was I played a lot of video games.
Really?
Like a ton of video games.
So that came before any type of like music or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually remember like, oh God. Yeah, so I remember the only music I listened to up until like fifth grade was Doug Cutler.
Who dat?
Jewish kid songs. And NSYNC with Backstreet Boys.
Solid lineup.
Yeah, I started listening to NSYNC and Backstreet Boys like whenever Millennium came out, like that was 2001, earlier than that. Yeah. Like in third grade or something, or fourth grade. I remember coming back from a Jewish overnight camp and getting Camp Interlock, and I came back and my dad had got me like a new boombox, painted one of my walls blue, and got me NSYNC, and I was so stoked. Because I remember like talking to kids in third grade about music they listened to. I was like, Doug Cutler. And they're like, who is that? And yeah. And then I started listening to like, I was friends with this dude named Craig. And Craig was he was older than me, but he got me into like, like entry level music for us. Like we started with Linkin Park.
Yes.
System of a Down.
Yeah.
Eminem. D12. Like those were like really who we listened to in like 6th and 7th grade. When Kazaa was around, or LimeWire, we could download stuff, and then it kind of went for like radio rock from there. From Wisconsin, radio rock huge.
Yeah. And
then from there it progressed more, depending, like when I started dating girls, then when I started dating, I stopped.
I'm not
dating,
here to judge,
stopped
man.
dating dogs and started dating girls. No, this girl got me into like Brand New and Taking Back Sunday, and then Craig got into them. And then we started listening to those, and that's how I started getting into music. And then I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and I became like full on.
That's
emo
like
kid.
That's like where you like clicked.
That's where I was in high school. Yeah, I started listening to that kind of music. Started wearing tight pants, girl pants. Started wearing bracelets, long hair, just plugs in your ears.
Yeah,
know,
like you
all
just
that
like
stuff.
got fully into like that scene, that
Found
community.
something to belong to. Me and my friends all did it. Like we went from baggy pants. We were baggy pants skater dudes. I didn't skate, but I looked like one. And then it went into tight pants.
So like by that time, like was that kind of like the first time that you found something that like felt like a real hobby or like something to you, like more than just school? Well, you said you had video games.
I used to like to draw, video games, and then I just dealt with like, honestly, like just getting through a day was hard enough for me. I started getting medicated when I was in like 3rd grade for depression and anxiety.
Really?
My parents got divorced when I was in 6th grade.
Jesus.
And so like, I was kind of like a mishmash of all this, or 6th or 7th grade. So like, it was just a struggle to get through school and day stuff. And I was supposed to be studying for bar mitzvah, so that was a big thing. But it was just like all this stuff, like nothing. I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't have anything I did. Built with Legos. I watched television a lot. I watched a lot of movies or television, free stuff. And I played video games. I didn't have video games for a while. We got like a Super Nintendo or a PlayStation 2. We got like systems like 5 years after they're out. We never got them new.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so like it was too expensive for us. And then I would go to my friend's house.
Yeah.
And they would let me play their video games, or I would just watch them play video games for hours because I just didn't have it.
So when did you start shooting?
Started shooting in high school. Some of my friends were in local bands. And that's when like Madison, Wisconsin had like 3 smaller clubs we used to go to these shows at. And then my friends started being the promoters for like a lot of local metal band, like touring metal bands. And I started going to all these shows and having friends that would go to shows. And I started shooting them because I had a camera from yearbook class. And eventually like the promoters were like, hey, if you take pictures of these, you can come in for free. We'll post them on our MySpace. I was like, sweet. MySpace was just coming up. And I was like, cool. So it got me in for free because I didn't have much money. And I remember like a big like, oh shit moment was like I had some day jobs and I worked at this movie theater. It was Sundance. It was Robert Redford's movie theater. And I remember trying to get off for it and trying to get off from work and being like, well, I'm going to go to this photo shoot. Can I have off work? And they were like, sure. And I remember my boss was like this, like, not the very nicest lady, but I didn't realize it. I wasn't conscious enough to really recognize that she, at that point you think they're older than me. They're correct. You don't think that there's authority, it's like, okay, what they say is right. It's like how you think of your teachers or your parents. So this was the first time where I was like, wow, I think she's just wrong. And she was like, you shouldn't go do that. You're not going to make that much money. I was like, $200 is like, I don't know, I'm thinking like $10 an hour or whatever or less. I was like, 20 hours of work, that's like 2 weeks of work. I'm making way more money than this. Like, and I just put it in my pocket. Yeah. So I just started doing photo shoots for like bands and they would pay me like 50 or like 45 or 50 or $100. And I would go to Milwaukee and Chicago. And that's kind of how I started doing it. So I do live shoots and then photo shoots with people I met. So
what was your first tour?
What quantify? What I kind of have like 2 first tours.
Give me both. Okay.
So I had one tour where I was like I still need to ask my old manager. I had a manager. I was in Buffalo, New York, and I went out with this band called Just Surrender. They're on tour with All Time Low. I drove with them from Buffalo to Wisconsin, which is like 5 tour dates in between, like Ohio, or whatever. And that kind of got me home. But I think that he just like forced me into their van. Like I don't think they wanted me. Huh. And I didn't even know, like at that point, like I didn't like lifestyle photos or live photos as much. I did like live photos a little bit. So like I would go on tour and I wouldn't shoot anything except for a little bit of a live show. And if they wanted to do a press shoot, I would do that because that's all I knew. Oh. And I was a really big advocate for like photography was not an emotional thing for me. It was a no emotional connection to it. It was transactional. So I would take the photos because I wanted to make the photos, but I didn't like want certain moments or anything. Like I just didn't, like I thought having emotion attached to it was really stupid.
Whoa.
And so I just did those things, and then I would just do nothing. I don't know what I did. Like I'm trying to think back. I have no memory of like what it was like to tour with me. Like what did I do during the day on those tours? I have no idea.
Whoa.
Just sit around. And then, so I did that with them, went back to Wisconsin. And then my first tour was with a band called 4 Letter Lie, who I still work. Kevin's now in a Day to Remember, what I work with heavily. And Derek I see sometimes because he's like more of a rapper now. He lives in LA. His name goes by Mod's son, but he was the drummer. The other 3 guys do other things.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
4 Letter Lie.
Yeah.
From Minneapolis.
Yes.
Had Kevin from Day to Remember.
Yes.
And Mod Sen in it.
Yes. Derek, well, I think he changed his name to Dylan. Dylan, I don't know what to call him. Derek, I'm sorry if you ever hear this. I don't mean to offend you or say the wrong thing. Goes by Mod's son now, but he was the drummer. He's a really good drummer.
Because he was also in Scary Kids, Scaring Kids.
He was in Scary Kids, Scaring Kids for their last like 3 tours.
Oh, okay. But so 4 Letter Lie was more of his band than Scary Kids.
Yes, and he was also in another band from Minneapolis called what's the one that Pat Brown was in?
Oh, damn it.
The Semester.
Oh.
The one he was in before he was in the other one, but the Semester, I think.
Scream It Loud.
Yeah, before that, I think it was the Semester Derek was in.
Holy shit, that's crazy. That's a piece of history that I did not know.
Yeah, so Midwest stuff.
So you toured with them?
Yeah, so like before I toured with them, I had met up with them a few times. They'd come to Wisconsin, and I would actually skip school, and we just drive around Madison for the day before they play their show and do promo shoots. Like we did one in a park by my school, did some stuff downtown, and then, I went on tour with them, and it was like, I think the best word to describe us on that tour was we were just like a bunch of degenerates.
Yeah. Well,
like we would, yeah.
I mean, it's funny, right? Like first touring, it's like kind of like your first getting away from home, and like it feels like just like this constant party almost, right?
Yeah, I learned how sheltered I was on that tour.
Yeah.
I learned how much I didn't understand the world.
And, like
how
you see
existed.
all these other things, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Everything I know isn't everything.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I learned a lot, and that's when I was like, all right, like I think my first tour, it was 30 days, full US. We started in Wisconsin. I actually took a Greyhound from Wisconsin to Minneapolis, and I got there really early. It was an overnight Greyhound. I remember hitting up Brian, their singer. We went and saw Cloverfield that morning at the mall. And then we went shopping before we left, and I learned like a lot of not good techniques from him. I'm sorry, I don't support stealing or anything, but we used to go to stores and like switch tags to other clothing so we could get it for cheaper, or we would just straight up steal.
Yeah.
Like I think that tour, like Derek stole a whole pack of Slim Jims. So like for a while we had like a whole pack of Slim. We had like hundreds of Slim Jims in the car. We would go to some places and like just steal shelves of food because we just didn't have money.
That just like that just feels like just typical teenage bullshit. Like you're just doing dumb shit. Okay, so at what point, like, you kind of, like, when MySpace was, like, really popping off, like, you quickly built a name for yourself. Like, before people had Instagram profiles and any of that, there was, like...
Instagram didn't exist.
Exactly. It was really, like, AIM and MySpace, but you did this brilliant thing where, like, you became a pretty known photographer in that scene of bands.
Oh, yeah.
And like started getting work of doing promos for magazines and stuff like that. Like, were you still in Wisconsin at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about...
We're just both staring at each other like, okay, Andrew, no, what's the question?
So...
Yeah.
Like, okay, so clearly by that time, you're like, okay, I'm getting paid to do these magazine shoots. I'm out here seeing more of the world. Like, what was it like to start? Like, that to me seems like it's where it became like a professional career.
Yeah.
Where was that point of it becoming a professional career?
It's really hard for me to talk about this process without talking about depression. Am I allowed to talk about it? I don't know.
Dude, please. Like, I don't want to like dig up like sadness, but I think that like I'm all about people hearing about that and like being honest about it.
Well, it's weird. Like, as I'm thinking about talking about it, I'm like, why do I like to talk about this? And I think that's just because it's important for who I am today. So that's why I talk about it. But so what my day was like was I like toured, and then I would come home, And I had a really rough time with relationships with, I'm not talking like my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or who I was seeing. Because it was like I had a girlfriend and then a different girlfriend. But what it went like was like, come home from tour, and I was in Wisconsin now, and I was doing my work, and I had like pretty severe depression, and I was working with a manager in Chicago, and it became like I would basically like be so depressed that I would sleep or stay in my room. I lived in a basement, so I would stay in my basement for days or weeks at a time, and I would only get up when my manager would be like, hey, you got to go do the shoot. And I'd be like, okay, I'll go to the shoot. And I'll go back and be depressed and I'd edit the photos. And that was really the only time I would leave, was to go to these things. And so it was really a big struggle for a while. And then, so I did that. And then it got to a tipping point where I eventually was like, like a point where I was like, all right, this is pretty bad. Like I ended up being hospitalized. And that really was like a moment where it was basically like a new chapter or whatnot. So it was like, it was a really long,
Wait, so tell me about that though. So you had already established like a lane as far as a photographer, but even with that, you'd come home and just be in such a dark spot that like it was to the point of getting hospitalized.
Yeah, well, it was like, what was it? I was like so sad that my girlfriend left me and I just couldn't handle it. It was like crazy. I was like, that happened multiple times. This is normal stuff, breakup, but it was like pretty severe.
Damn.
And so I did that. Yeah, I got hospitalized. And I remember it because it was Halloween of 2007. I think it was 8. 2008, I think, because I graduated. I don't remember. 2009, did I move here? Yeah, I think it was Halloween 2008. I was hospitalized and then gone to like what's technically called like a mental institution or a psych ward, whatever you call it, then put in that. And I was basically in those cares for like two weeks, or I was hospitalized, and then I actually got moved because I kept leaving the hospital. And I think that was pretty funny. I don't know if I've talked about that before, but what happened is, I'm not proud of it, but I was like a little bit of a troll. There's acute care. It was like basically you're on suicide watch at a hospital.
Whoa.
And they keep you in a room where you don't have your shoelaces, you don't have your cell phone, you don't have anything.
Whoa.
And what I did was actually have like a YouTube account I actually logged into, and I started recording videos in there. And but what I had done was I took this smoking area you could go outside, and I took these like ballpoint pens and I stuck them in like the fence. There was a corner fence, and I stuck them in the fence and made like a ladder and jumped the fence and left.
Are you fucking kidding me?
On multiple occasions. And what I would do is I left, and I was like, well, in my head, I'm like thinking, I was going to sound like a search party. Am I going to go to jail? So what I did is I went to the McDonald's close by, and I got 2 apple pies for $1 because I loved those.
So good.
And then I went back to the hospital, acute care, and I walked in the front door.
Oh my God.
And I did it twice, and they like freaked out because it made them look really bad, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought it was funny.
That's hilarious, but
then the repercussions were pretty severe because I'm a freaking idiot. But what happened was,
and if you're in watch like that, they're probably just really scared for you.
Yeah. So there's like 2 sides. It's like acute and whatever. So one side is like suicide watch, and the other side is like you get some privileges. And I was in the privileges part. Then back to suicide watch, and then the second time I did it, they were like confused in how I got out. They didn't know, so they were like thought I was sneaking out the front door, and they didn't notice. And I should have just left. I don't know why I went back. And so that night they put me in, like they got, like, what happened? I ended up taking from the side with privileges to the, is this okay to talk about? I don't know.
Dude, yeah.
From the side with privileges to the side where we're on suicide watch, I took a fork with me, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And they came in there and they like tried to take the fork away, and I like flipped out, and they put me in one of those padded rooms.
Oh my God, dude. That's like straight out of a fucking movie.
I was an idiot. But I went to one of those padded rooms, and I had like, you're just in like a gown, and then you have somebody watching you. And I was so sad. And I remember the guy that was watching me felt so bad for me. He printed out a bunch of, I like Mitch Hedberg, and he printed out like 2 pages of Mitch Hedberg jokes, and I read them, and I was like, well, this is cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next day, my parents came, and my parents were kind of scared because then they moved me to what's called Mendota. And Mendota is like the psych ward. So they said they couldn't take care of me there, and they couldn't let me go. So they had to move me to Mendota, and that's when I got like handcuffed, put in a cop car, taken to Mendota.
Jesus, dude.
And then Mendota is like the real shit. And I continued to fuck with them there. I don't know what I was thinking so like what I did. Is this okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's like I'm so glad this is in the past because I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Do you need a hug? Are you good? But like,
no, it's fine.
I love like knowing the person that you are now, and we've become pretty close friends, and like I think that you've dealt with it so well, and like it's such a crazy cool thing to hear you overcome, and like,
oh, it's not that big of a deal. I think I was just being foolish.
Well, yeah, but like I didn't realize that like the breakup and like it got that real.
Yeah. And if my girlfriend hears this, she's gonna be like, God damn it, Adam. My girlfriend at the time. But anyway, so I went to this place, like handcuffed, and like this place is a place where like I was the most with it person there.
Oh, okay.
And I would even go as far to say like some of the staff was less with it than me.
Well,
but they were talking like people, like there was this one old guy who'd walk around and he would just scream and like shoot you with a fake shotgun.
Okay.
And there was like this one dude there's like a lot of bipolar people in there, people who would like go to the bathroom in their pants. Like I'm not hating on these people, like they need to be there, but I'm telling you like this is people who like on multiple occasions I would see people get like tackled and injected with shots to like settle them down. Like, and it's like a prison. Like you have a little hole where they come and look at you in your room, and in your room is just like a hard bed, a blanket, and then you get like a few meals a day, and you have to take your medicine every day.
Wait, so did you like, there had to have been a point, I'm finished telling your story, but like there had to have been a point where you're like, yo, this isn't me, I don't belong here.
Well, like I was so sad. Yeah, and I did have that point, and that point was when my dad came and he went, Adam, you're in the system now. You're in the government system. You don't want to be in this system because these systems are made to work for some people, but they don't work for most people. Mm-hmm. My dad was really scared. My dad's not from this country. Like that's a big deal to him.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you're right. I think I was there for over a week. Mm-hmm. And it was weird. Like there came a realization where it's like, they're not really made to get you better, which was weird to me. They had like group counsel and they had people talk to you, but they were just like volunteers. Like my volunteer was like a girl from the women's volleyball team at the UW. And I was like, what is this? So they're not there to make you get better. They're just there to make sure you survive.
Whoa.
So they medicate you. And I remember sleeping in my room. I did some other stuff to mess with them, but like it's kind of embarrassing. So I don't know if we'll go into that. But I basically after a week or something, I got out because or a week and a half. It seemed like forever. Yeah. But I took my medicine, I got out, and then I was on probation. So I had to not do any drugs or alcohol for a year, and I had to take my medicine for a year. And if I broke it, I would go right back. Yeah. And so after that year, I left Wisconsin.
Damn. So that was enough where like your dad and like just seeing that, like it was like, yeah, I'm depressed about this, but like this is not the fucking way.
I was like, okay, I really did fuck. I like pushed, like, you know, like I love to push people to the limit. Yeah. This was too far. Yeah. I pushed myself too far. And like I remember like my friends came and visited me and I was just like, all right, it's kind of like I'm in jail, but like, yeah, if it was weird. It
was enough of a reality check to be like, I need to go.
Which maybe that was their goal.
Maybe.
But like I think their goal was just to keep me alive. And also it's Wisconsin, so it's like in the grand scheme of things, like there's a lot of people there who are quite been in Wisconsin their whole life.
Yeah, they don't know anything else. So okay, so you get out of that, and then like, was that enough for you to be like, you know what? I have this life. I'm good at photography. I'm doing something cool. Like, I just saw what it was like to be this fucking depressed. Like, I need to go do something else. Like,
I remember the car ride home. I was like, wow. Just looking at the sun, I was stoked. Because like the Mendota is on a lake. There's two lakes in Madison. And I'm not kidding. Like you look across the lake and you can see like basically where I live. Whoa. So like I could like see my house. I was like, God damn it. So I get out and I left Madison because, like, what triggered it was like, another girl. Like girls.
You gotta stop falling in love, my guy.
Dude, I fall in love too easy, or fall in love too hard. You know, go hard with it. But there's this girl I really liked. We hung out, and then she ended up not liking me as much, which everybody knows is heartbreaking. And I was like, screw this, I'm out. So I was originally gonna go to California to just visit my sister. And then on like a whim, I got this job where this dude flew me to St. Louis to train him in photography for 2 days. Yeah. Paid me like $1,200, which is more than I had ever made on anything. And I used that money to then move to California. And I just had like a golf case size like I could fly with everything I owned.
Wow.
You know, so I just flew to California and lived on my sister's floor for a month.
Where in California?
San Diego.
Okay.
La Jolla.
Nice.
Lived on my sister for a month, and then, from there I just kept touring.
That's crazy. So, did people know, like, did the touring community know that you were fucking deep in the fucking Wisconsin system? Or was it just kind of like, oh, Adam's off the grid for, I guess you said it's only a couple weeks. Like, it's not like you were gone. Yeah.
I mean, I had visual scars on myself from like being suicidal and shit. So I guess people would pick up on that and be like, okay, he kind of like did some shit, pretty fresh things. So people would see that and be like, all right. But like most of the time, like I wasn't super open about it.
Right.
They just knew that I was having like troubled times. So,
okay.
On the road, I would continue.
Well, no. So like, just like you continue, your career stayed going. Like that was a very real speed bump or setback or like life check moment, but it's not like that took jobs away or you had to like,
I mean, it could have, I don't know. Realistically, I mean, even if I was like, let's say like I was performing at 100% was great. I don't know if it would have been 200% if I was going even harder.
Right. But I'm saying like when you got out, like moving to California, like it was pretty easy. Like you got back on tour and like you kept doing your thing.
Yeah, but it's different back then. Nobody else was doing it. It didn't matter. There was no other choice.
You were like the dude.
Yeah, there was nobody else to do it in that world. There was a few people.
Yeah, if a band wanted a photographer, it was just like...
It was just me.
Yeah.
Well, there was a few other people, but like they hadn't cracked it yet.
Tell me like that year. Like what's that time frame? What are the bands that you're touring with?
What year? When I moved?
Yeah, like coming to California, you're the only dude. You're going
Pierce
out
the
on
Veil,
tour.
A Day to Remember, All Time Low. That's who I was with. And then I remember when I started with Asking Alexandria of Mice and Men, like other bands, and I was like, wow, I'm so far into my career starting with these. And realistically, that was like 2011, which now is 7 years ago. But the time frame from like 2007 to 2011 seemed like longer than the past 7 years have seemed whatsoever, just relatively. So like those years, like those were long years. Like it was crazy. Like I remember thinking like, why would I start a relationship with another artist? I've been with this artist for 2 years.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, I've been with artists. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I think,
all right.
Who else? Envy on the Coast.
And like another thing that I find interesting is like, obviously like Instagram wasn't around. So like these artists that are bringing you out were honestly forward thinking to bring somebody out to get content on tours. So like, what were they doing with the photos and like, how was your work getting spread?
Yeah. So there was like a progression. So when I would originally go out with people, I don't think I had a real job because they weren't really paying me. I was just going on tour.
Yeah.
And like not losing money. Maybe I was losing money, but I was just taking photos of things that happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would just do live photos and press photos when we could. Then eventually it evolved into lifestyle photos with The Day to Remember in 2010. But basically I would come out. I think we're giving the bands too much credit to say they're forward thinking. Because I think they were, but like Instagram wasn't around yet. So there wasn't a real, that sounds like a slide at them. I didn't mean it to sound like that at all. I was just thinking like, it wasn't like, I think it just aligned with what we thought of like a rock star. Like what you know what I mean? Like famous bands have photographers with them.
It wasn't like you had a master plan. You were just like, well, this is what famous bands do.
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing. We're just emulating what we knew, what we wanted to be.
But like, you're posting these photos on MySpace?
No, what I would do is I would go on tour and I would just take photos and then I would give them to publication. I would do photo shoots for these bands for publications on the road. That's mostly what we did.
Oh, okay. So it was getting published. It was going to magazines.
I would shoot for magazines. I would just hit up magazines. Whoops, my bad. I would hit up magazines and shoot for them. And then the first time I went to Europe with A Day to Remember was when Instagram still wasn't around. It's just MySpace. Nobody posted like photos on MySpace. This is what I'm doing. But it was Alex, the drummer of that band, who like every night in my bunk, he'd be like, let me get the photos from today. I'd be like, dude, just wait till I get home.
Yeah.
Because that was a normal thing, to shoot the whole tour, go home, edit them all, make a big blog, and then release it, and then send them. But then once Instagram came around, like when I started Instagram, people weren't crediting photographers.
Right.
Like that was like I often try to tell people, they're like, how did you get a big following on Instagram? And it's because when I started doing it, it wasn't a known thing to have credit. So now you see it and you're like, oh, okay, that's who took it. I don't really. But back then it was like, whoa, somebody took this photo that wasn't the person. Like it was developing. So it was like I was the only one getting credited, and it was a big deal. Now it's like everybody has it, so it's not as big of a deal.
Whoa.
But it wasn't photographers didn't get credit back then. So.
And why was it that you were getting credit? Were you asking for it, or was it just the bands were showing you love?
Because they weren't paying me.
Oh.
So I was like, you have to credit me, and you have to let me sell prints, and you have to promote it. So I had like deals with them. Basically, the deal was like, okay, so let's say I go on tour with a band, and I sell prints, and then when I reach a certain cap of money, then I start giving money back to the band.
Oh, cool.
So I was like, you can't pay me, but this is how much I want to make. Can I make that much off prints? And I never actually gave any money to them, not because I lied to them, but just because they didn't really care, and I never really reached those caps. But it was just like it was like a thing. So like theoretically, they generated my position with their clout.
That's a really smart solution that you came up with.
Well, thank you. I don't know if smart, it's just necessary. I want to be on tour, you know?
That's so like, I don't know, that like what you just said there, like I love how you said that, because it kind of, your line of thought is just so, well, yeah, I want to do this. So it's not like you had some master plan. You're just like, well, this is what I do if I want to keep doing this.
Yeah. And if anybody ever wants to feel better about themselves, all you have to do is spend like an hour talking to Andrew. Because he'll pick anything and be like, yeah, and that's what I love about you.
Yeah.
And it just like spice people up.
Yeah.
And it's like, Andrew, you're going to like throw me into a wall here with all this positivity. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm ready to take over the world.
I'm really about gassing up the
Yeah.
boys. That's the vibe. And you've also been sipping on that coffee. So
I have not drank this since we started.
you're halfway through it though. You said you were only going to drink a quarter. For the listener, he's taking a sip of coffee.
Yeah.
How was it?
More watery than earlier. The ice
really
melts.
sneaks in there.
The ice, it melts.
It does. Okay, well, that's cool, and I will continue to gas you up on that, because no one knew what the fuck to do with Instagram. And like the fact, like maybe it was just you doing what you felt was right, but like that is pretty cool that your solution was so viable and was so the wave and what it then became. So
I'm just listening. Sorry. That's me be like, yeah, okay.
because like not only were you touring, you were also still getting hired to do press shoots for other bands, right?
Yeah.
And is that like you're just out in California? Like, how are you paying rent? Because you moved out of your sister's house like a month after you said?
I didn't have any money. I remember I always remember this thing where I like moved out. I'm pay rent because I moved out of my sister's house after 30 days, and I moved in with these two guys. One of them's name was Abalonium, and the other guy's name was, he had a nickname he made up, but we called the other guy Apple. And they were not very, they weren't very well off. They were pretty poor. And so we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, but Apple lived in our living room. So I think our rent total was like $1,200. So we each paid $4 or $3 or something.
Yeah.
Apple paid less. And I just had a room, and I was never home, but I had a room to keep all my stuff safe. And I ended up moving. I actually ended up having to get us evicted. I think I told you that. Have I told you
You
this?
did tell me that.
Yeah. So I had to I wanted to move out, and they wouldn't let me because they told me that they were going to move a homeless person, one of their homeless friends, in with his dog.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Like he actually was homeless.
Yeah, and we were going to be his home. And we was going to have 2 people living in our living room. And like, it's not a big living room. It's a normal sized living room in California, not that big.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So I went to my rental place. This is the first time I rented something in my life. And I was like, I talked to my sister. I was like, how are we going to get out of here? She's like, I think you have to get yourself evicted. I was like, okay. Because they wouldn't sign the thing to let me off the lease. So I got myself evicted. I lost like whatever money, first and last month's rent.
Yeah.
And I moved all my stuff out during the day, and then proceeded to get death threats from not Apple, but the other guy who I forget his name.
Great.
And I was like, what is going on?
Okay, but you're like, I guess just enough of you were taking press shoots and you were touring and you were selling prints, and like you kind of...
I didn't sell prints for like another 2 years or so.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was touring, making money off photo shoots mostly. A couple $100, whatever, alternative press shoots, press photos for bands. I would say average couple $100 to a couple thousand, depending on what it was and how long it took and stuff. And it was enough to pay the bills and enough to live. But like when I first moved there, like I was taking the trolley to the grocery store and buying like food, and I just did not have enough money at all I never got help. I actually don't like. I don't know how I didn't worry and go crazy. But I remember going to like the fair with my friend Jesse. Jesse actually lives in LA now. He's a musician. He's in one of my favorite bands, and he took me to the fair with him and his girlfriend. I just didn't have money. I like couldn't do anything.
But here's the interesting thing: is like to me at least, like I remember the broke days, but at least I was like always like, it's not going to be like this forever. Like I was like, I can make it through this. I can make it through this. But for you, as you explain the story, you're just kind of like very matter of fact of the fact of like, well, yeah, I didn't have money, but like I just kept doing this. Like, did you even care about getting to it? Or it seems like you were just down for the ride. I hope that doesn't sound shitty.
I don't think it sounds shitty. I know your intentions. Yeah, I don't really know. I forget a lot of stuff. I just was so in the moment.
Yeah.
There was just no other way. You could say like, it wasn't like now I sit down and make plans for things because I'm a little bit more collected and I have like a little more options. Mm-hmm. So like I can be like A, B, or C and each one has pros and cons. Back then it's like, well, you either go homeless or you work.
Yeah.
And that's the only option.
Yeah.
And when I was at that age, like I just could work constantly because I didn't have anything else in life.
Isn't that fucking funny though? Like you got so much of your success and like the beginning of your career from what you're explaining of just like, there's nothing else to do. So like go do it and go work.
Yeah. I would travel for like, I would piggyback tours for months where I would just hop from tour to tour. And I remember looking at the gear I was taking, I was a psycho. Like I remember I had to golf, like if you don't shoot or don't know photography, like I had a thing that was the size of like a golf bag on wheels. And then another thing the size of a suitcase that's too big to be carry-on. Mm-hmm. That was a Pelican, so it's heavy. Mm-hmm. And then a battery pack, a lithium battery pack that was the size of like a medium-sized purse that I would carry with me too, and a backpack. So I would go around with those things, and I would take like public transportation on the East Coast. And I just remember people must think I'm a psycho. So I had like snake bites, basketball shorts, Vans slip-ons, and a cutoff tee and long hair. And I was just like, just doing it. Like I just remember mobbing like that, and I didn't take showers, I didn't change clothes. And yeah.
For the listener, I just have my mouth open in awe right now.
Yeah.
Painting this picture. But that's fucking crazy. So you'd travel with like full light setups. Like you'd go like full.
I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, I had Pulsey Buff, I had Alien B.
That's
stuff.
crazy. Yeah. But I remember back in those days, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Your photos were very unique because there was like this very professional photo shoot type feel, like where there was lighting and all that. No one else was doing that. Just stop down light.
Just stop down for ambient and, 2 stops above for subject, or one, properly exposed for subject.
Of course.
It was like a wannabe Dave Hill. Like I wanted to be Dave Hill so bad. He was so good. He still is very good, very talented. But like, it was like a cheap man's Dave Hill. Like I did for the magazine, what they couldn't afford.
Damn.
So.
But again, it's not like you were strategic about that. It was just you were inspired by him and that's what you wanted to do. And
that's all I could do. It was one trick. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you get to a point, like you keep doing this, you keep touring, you're kind of the only photographer. You're building an Instagram following, not really knowing the empire that you're building or anything like that. You're just doing it. You're touring. You made lens bracelets. And that shit's crazy to me.
Yeah? How come?
Because was that just another Adam idea that wasn't thought out that ended up blowing up?
Yeah.
Because that shit was crazy.
I've gotten lucky, I think. But I've had a lot of failures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, after that. I got pretty lucky early on and then a lot of swings and misses. Not failures, just, okay, that's probably not going to work so well.
But you'd say you had a streak of luck starting things off.
Yeah, I mean, I tried a lot of things that didn't work. Like, I did a DVD before that. I did like online presets. Really? Yeah, like I did a DVD in my mom's basement. I did like all these things that like just to make some money.
Yeah.
DVD made a lot of money. Well, for me, a lot of money.
What was the DVD of?
Editing. Shooting, photo shoots. Yeah, I think I was 17. 18.
Nice. That's brilliant. And then you did what was bracelets. The idea?
Business card. Make a business card. And then I was on Warped Tour. I was selling it at a merch table for a nonprofit, I think, for like $10.
The lens bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the money meant so much to me back then. Like it still does, but Obviously, like I've made a life that's a little bit more expensive because of, I have an apartment, no car payment because, I never had any debt. So I was pretty proud of that. I was pretty stress free. I never had any debt, but I would get like $10 payments on Big Cartel. I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can eat tonight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like that to me, like, it's funny hearing the story behind the scenes and how much of it was just like, I don't even want to say right place, right time, but you just like acting like there's nothing else to do. So I'm just going to do this. And then the lens bracelet happens where it's just such like a genuine idea of like, yeah, I need to promote like a business card. Here's a cool way. And again, for the listener, like I remember it very well, but maybe not everyone is familiar, but like there was a certain trend and time where every motherfucker in the music scene was wearing those lens bracelets.
Not lens bracelets, but silicone bracelets.
Well, the silicone bracelets, yes, that was very, very, very deep. I guess it wasn't everyone with the lens bracelets, but it hit.
Yeah.
It was like, at least in my opinion, like
before Alibaba took over. Yeah.
Yes. And that elevated your financial status. Yeah.
It allowed me to make decisions I shouldn't have.
Hilarious.
It allowed me to do things that I otherwise couldn't have done because I didn't have the money. Like pretend that I have a girlfriend in Australia.
Yes.
Yeah. Like things like that. It's like, come on, dude.
Do stupid trips and fly around, whatever.
Yeah. Like visit Australia to visit my girlfriend. Good choice, man.
But like, did your perspective change? Like, did you have like were you like, whoa, like this is like kind of an entrepreneurial venture? Like, wow, like I figured out something different to make money. Like, did that spark something? Or what happened?
I've tried other products since then. I had other products, like another photographer reached out to me to do a project that we were going to do together. Never did it. He did it on his own eventually, but I helped him with like getting a factory in China to do them at. I think he made like custom lens caps. Yeah, I mean, it started me doing like trying to find other ways to make money. Yeah. I did prints after that.
Because
those were in 2010.
I guess like what I'm getting at is like, yes, you've had an extremely successful career in photography and like you've continued to get better and do that. But I think what I admire so much about you is not only the photography, but like you've kind of looked at the business differently from others where like you made the lens bracelets and that hit and that gave you like a definite like financial stability. But then, and it's not even out of like a business side. It's like out of this thing of like almost you giving back, but like you've gone on to do workshops and you've gone on to figure out better ways to sell images and do things in a different way than just the standard photographer of getting paid, posting shit on Instagram, selling presets, whatever. And I'm just curious like where that came from, because it went from Adam out of necessity, just fucking living, touring, whatever, to like the Adam that I talk to these days is fucking smart with that shit. So like, where did that click?
Weed.
Was it?
I'm like, when did I come up with these ideas? I think like in California, I would just like smoke a bunch of weed and just think. Like think about stuff. Like, I don't think that, like, granted, I don't think it came from weed. I think weed allowed me to get in these deep thoughts.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sorry, and like not trying to promote like drugs or something, but I'm just like, smoked a lot of weed in 2010, sat around and thought about lens bracelets. Like I dated this girl who had a lot of weed.
Yeah.
And I thought about him and I was like, well, that's a good idea. Let's just do it.
It's just funny to me because like, I mean, I don't really care. Like people live your lives. Like I've lost some people to doing like very real drugs.
Yeah, me too. Lost friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't advocate for.
Weed is different than that. But like I personally am not
on the human. Yeah.
Sure. And like I personally am just like, I don't do any drugs, but it's funny.
Yeah,
this
you do.
podcast.
You drink coffee.
All right, fine.
Caffeine. I mean, I know you joke about it, but that is like, the only reason that you think that I'm kidding when I say that is because you have nothing else to compare it to. But I'm being serious. Coffee is a strong drug, man. That is altering. That is strong.
Yeah.
I think so. People just it's just normalized, but it is strong, man.
That is its own conversation, and I do think that like
we won't go there.
No, I mean like we can like we'll just rant and ramble forever, but like I guess I do have to give you a little bit there, like where you're right, and it does have an effect on your body and your mind, and
yes,
if you stop drinking it, you will get headaches. So yes, I do get that.
Your mind can do these things. These just allow you to do it.
Sure. I guess what I was going to say about weed though is it's literally funny that I personally don't care about drugs or any type of anything like that. Care for them. But you're not the first person to be on the podcast where like it'll be that answer where I'm like looking for some like magnum opus, like this, and this. Well, and then it's just this pause and it's like, well, I don't know, man. I guess I was just smoking a bunch of weed.
Well, I think that the thing is that when I was that young, I wasn't not that young, but at that age, I wasn't very conscious with my thoughts. You know, I was just doing the next thing. I wasn't thought out. So the thing that weed or whatever it may be for you, meditation, yoga, running, these things allow you to get to a headspace that you don't navigate to on your own. And then once you identify this headspace, you have a goal. So it kind of worked that way with me with depression. So I lived my whole life, not my whole life, I lived a lot of my life depressed until I was 19. Very, very depressed. And I remember my mom, I remember people being like, you don't have to live this way. Like, you don't have to be depressed. And I was like, what are they talking about? I don't understand. I'm just depressed. They tell me I'm depressed, but I don't know what that means. And then I took the medicine that I was prescribed from when I got on probation, and I realized what it meant to be happy, and I had never understood that before. I didn't understand what it felt like to be like happy and how most people lived. Yeah. And it clicked. I was like, whoa, I can live like this? Like this is a thing I can target and do? I didn't understand that. So I didn't have that like goal. So I think when I say weed, I really just mean like that helped me discover like, oh, you can sit down and just think about stuff really deeply and like kind of like you can navigate these thoughts and go to places.
Yeah, like you just kind of blew my mind. Like it was like kind of the first time where you were not just being reactive and living like in the moment of life and just going through the motions, but it was the first time where you had any amount of like being self-aware, building any type of strategy or realizing that like you could control or navigate things and not just like randomly go with the flow and just do shit. Yeah. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so that's...
You sound like somebody who's never smoked weed, dude.
All right, you cop. I'm the cop. But like, so yeah, so you went on to like kind of do a bunch of cool projects. So the lens bracelets was a cool one to me. When did you start doing any type of like... What came first, the publications or the workshops? Like your magazines or the workshops?
Well, I think teaching is all of that stuff is like a long path. So I'll start somewhere else.
Go, yeah.
Okay, so...
That's what I was looking for, like the teaching.
Yeah,
side.
like workshops. I started teaching as soon as I started doing photo shoots when I was 17. Whoa. Because I had two assistants for me who were older than me. They were like 23 and 24, I want to say. And it was really helpful because I didn't have skills. I couldn't drive well. I had such bad anxiety that I couldn't drive for like 60 miles, or I couldn't drive from... like an hour drive was too like palm sweaty, freak out, like turning red. I couldn't do it. So I had and I couldn't rent cars. So these older guys assist me and they would help me out. They would like set up everything for me and drive and stuff. And I would just teach them photography. Whoa. I would help them so they could do their stuff. So that was when I started teaching and I fell in love with it. And since then I would always get assistants to assist me who had no idea what was going on. Like, you've assisted me. Oh yeah. And I would always get people like you or anybody who's just like, I just want to learn about it. And I'd be like, all right, sweet, come. It's really easy. Yeah. You just tell them what to do and they do it. And it's fun. And then that's where I kind of started teaching. I did my first workshop in San Diego in 2010 or 9. Like the first year I moved here. Holy shit. At a hotel. I did a workshop, like a 2-day workshop there. And then I did, I also went back to like the college I went to for a semester. I spoke at a class there. And then I did stuff at my high school. And I do stuff at my high school like every year. But that's like the teaching. And then the publication, it's more just a continuation of a blog, in my opinion. Like I did the blog and then I wanted to make a book. And I made a book for a day to remember. There's only 4 copies, just for fun, 2010. And they never really bought into that. They've always wanted to do a book, but they've never really put the time towards it. But I want to do it, so I printed my own books. In the magazines. Magazines. Yeah. That's the quick of it.
That's cool.
Thanks, dude. You're cool. Hey, man, you're cool.
Thanks. Tell me more. What's up?
That's all. Oh, you want more? You want more back pats?
No, I wanted you to tell me I was cool more.
Oh, you're cool more.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Gotta keep. And like, what? Are there any, like, because I don't want to glaze over like the crazy amount of artists that you've worked with, and like I think that the way that you do work with artists and like what you see, maybe the fact that you do have more of a press shot background and lifestyle came after. But like, I always tell you this, like the way that I see the photos that you take, like you look at people and settings and things differently, and like your eye for editing, and like, do you have any of like your photography career that stands out as highlights of like artists that you've worked with or work that you're proud of? Or like, when did you get to a spot where you're like, this is fucking cool, I'm creating art?
When I started using like flashes on stage.
Oh.
And I was like actually able to control the live setting.
Whoa.
And I would like shoot the remote ones. That was cool. I was stoked on that. I like super, like if I could shoot this like silhouettes for the rest of my life, I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that was cool. There's been a lot of different level up moments. It's pretty much, I know that as soon as I love it, then, you know, you're going to hate it pretty soon after that.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's like an actual love or hate or just a drive to get better, but it's been a while since. It's hard. Yeah. And as you do it more and more, it's harder and harder. And it's like harder to come to terms. It's like, I wish the photos I took in 2009 were actually good. I like look like these other photographers that I saw today, like showing me their work from when they were 20. I was like, how are you so good at 20? But and now you're 50 and you're amazing. It's like, God, I wish I was that good when I was younger.
But don't you just feel like that's you being hard on yourself? Like if I were to look at some of those photos back in the day, I'd probably be like, dude, this is fire.
I would think that you're wrong or lying.
Well, yeah, but you're the most humble person I know.
Fuck you. I'm the best.
Yeah, fuck you.
I'll show you how humble I can't be.
Well, you started, okay, so you did flash on stage, which is crazy. I didn't realize that was such a level up moment, but that makes a lot of sense because that is crazy. You toured, like you stayed touring for a while, but then I think we became pretty close friends when I moved to San Diego. And I don't know, like I just learned so much more about you. Like I guess in part of this episode, like I just kind of want to touch on more than just Adam as a photographer, because
does this mean you get to talk about magic cards?
Honestly, I'd love to. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was going to get at is like, there's this whole
Act
career, like
2.
I don't want
Magic.
to, yeah, like honestly, Act 2 is like
hilarious.
Anybody that quickly, if they don't know you, they can quickly Google your name and see some of your work and the artists you've worked with. If they do know you, they're probably familiar with it. And I don't want to glaze over that, but like, it's just fucking crazy to me to like hear about this kid that was like legitimately fucking depressed in Wisconsin and like went through some shit.
Hey man, he can hear you.
Where is he again? Is that, oh, that's him.
Oh, yeah.
To then like touring, finding your lane, doing all this stuff and like finding success, but like the Adam that I know, it's like, dude, you went through some bullshit and like you almost had this life where you didn't know that better existed and like you were just kind of doing what you do, to now the person that I'm friends with, like there's so much more to you than just photography. And like it almost seems like you've casually mastered that, where you're like, yeah, cool, it's this thing I do, and I look at it and I'm like, that's fucking crazy. But like there is more of this person that does more than just photography. And like, you did grow up and like, you figured out so many ways to deal with depression. And like, I know we've even talked about like even anger management and things like where before you were like a much angrier person. So now the Adam that I see.
What did I hear this guy, who says it? I don't know if it's my story to tell, but my friend tours with an artist as a lighting designer. He told me that the artist told him, he's like, I'm so happy that you met me now in my life. And I feel that way. Like, I'm happy that you met me now in my life and not like, I don't know if I was a dick, but I just wasn't conscious of the way my actions affected other people as much. So yeah, that's being a dick. But to an extent, it's like my head is like, my brain is constant. Like I listened to Russell Brand talk yesterday and I really related on a moment to like when he talked about addiction and drugs, and like, I don't do hard drugs, but I understood what he talked about when he talks about, you know, he's always trying to find these ways to free his head from all the thoughts that are going through him. And he has to be careful not to fall in these traps. And I don't know what it's like to be somebody who's not me, but I can't tell you, like, if I don't meditate that often, but it helps a lot when I do. Like my head is like constantly thinking like crazy. Like it doesn't stop. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't go away. Like unless I go to the gym and do these things, like it just nonstop going.
Yeah.
Like, and when I'm talking to somebody, I have to really focus on listening to them because it's so hard. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that other than saying like, it's taken me a really long time just to be able to hear other people.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I just like, cause my perspective of you, the friend that I have, it's like, I'm so aware. I'm so aware that like you've been through some shit and whatever and all that, but it's like the friend that I have and the Adam that I see you as is like, I think you've done an incredible job dealing with it and leveling up as a person and like overcoming all of that. And I just like, I think about people who maybe are still dealing with it, or I mean, not to say that you're not still dealing with it, but it's like, I look at that as very impressive. The fact
thanks,
that you,
bro. This is what I'm talking about. You want to feel good about yourself, just hang out with Cram.
I'm here to gas you up.
Yeah. Gas somebody up is not a good term.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Gas.
Yeah, it's like
when is gas a positive thing?
I literally, I just think it's the term. It's just gas them up, you know? Like
I get it, but what is
fire
gas?
them up?
That's better. Fire is positive, keeps you warm.
Well, gas leads to fire.
Gas leads to...
You're thinking of farts.
I'm thinking of like blowing shit up. I'm thinking of like things that smell bad. I'm thinking of things that you don't want to inhale too much of.
Nah, you have a
gas
bias.
is the fuel to the fire. Then why not just use the final outcome? You can't have gas and not fire and it be positive.
No, because you're just looking at gas wrong. I was afraid of propane. I don't trust it, but
what about propane accessories?
Propane and propane accessories? Damn it, Adam. No, but like, so you're gassing them up, right? It's the fuel to the fire. It's what's cooking. Now we're cooking with gas. That's a saying.
All right. Well, I'm gonna coal you up.
All right, man, coal me up.
I mean, by your definition, that should be a term we use.
Well, that's great. I feel good.
It's something that creates fire.
I feel good that you've coaled me up.
Actually, anything then would be substitute for gas.
Dealer's choice. Let's go. I appreciate you coaling me up. Now I just said colon.
All right, where were we?
Where are we now? What have you done?
Look what you've done.
Look what... No, okay, so I guess just like I'm very curious about that, Adam, and like the fact that you're so much more than just your profession now, and you've clearly gone through some bullshit, but you have a very high functioning life, and
It comes in waves. I love that. There's a song, that Bring Me the Horizon song, Drown. Like, it comes in waves. Close my eyes. Like, I don't think I've ever related to a song more. It's like, yeah, it does come in waves. Like, sometimes it's nice. Like, the more better routines you get, then your waves kind of like, you know, the difference between the top point and the bottom point hopefully mellows out a little bit and you can get some control. But man, sometimes that high and low, I feel like they often mirror each other.
That's deep.
Yeah, like waves, like the ocean.
Yeah, bro.
Like
waves.
high tide.
What would your advice be for anybody, like if you could talk to like a young you, or like, you know, like
Go to the gym.
Go to the gym.
Go to the gym. Like, don't, like, stop. Like, I know everybody focuses on mental, like, I'm not trying to trash this. Like, yeah, it's good to focus on mental health. I get it. Like, it's a good current thing. I'm happy that people are talking about it more. But, like, I think that we're quick to assume that, I don't know. Like, even me saying go to the gym, like, I think it's too quick to assume that what works for me works for everybody else. It's good to talk about what works for me. I just think you need to do stuff that makes you feel good and isn't detrimental. Like, good and disciplined. Not, like, easy. Like, the easy way isn't probably not the right way because there's a reason it's easy. So, you know, just because it makes you feel good doesn't mean it's the right thing. But, yeah, and it doesn't always necessarily mean being happy. Like, I don't know. Sometimes good things come from not being happy. Like, I think happy is a good goal, but, like, sometimes all the stuff that's worth it, you got to go through a lot of not being happy, a lot of being uncomfortable, a lot of doing, you know, things that you're well disciplined in. That's when I don't know.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, stop being happy. work harder. I don't know.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. And outside of just photography, like you said it as a joke, like magic, but like I actually am super down to talk about that for a second because I find it crazy.
Magic
like,
Gathering?
Yes.
Changed my life.
Yeah, like straight up. Like we played.
Not an exaggeration.
Yo,
it
like,
actually allowed me to live.
Dude, tell me, like, because like I remember being like, that was kind of one of the first things of our friendship where it was like, yo, cool. Like we were both kind of in a music lane, but here's something completely outside of it that we love. And you played a lot more casually, but like you've gotten fucking good. And like, I know it's something that you truly love.
We got them tricked, boys. Magic the Gathering. For those of you who don't know what Magic the Gathering is, you're lucky. No, Magic is like a quick scenarios. It's like being a chess player and a poker player at once. But every 3 months you have to memorize about 300 cards. So basically, Magic, I played Magic when I was a kid. We all did. And I stopped for like 10 years. Yeah. I started again in 2015, and I probably play like, when I say play, I mostly mean practice. It's a fun thing, but like it's an intentional thing. It's like doing homework every day. Do like probably 3 hours a day at least with the like of some kind of magic related activity. And it's all about thinking and thinking about situations and all the different ways you can think of them and analyzing them. And I never really thought that people thought about stuff that deeply. So it changed my life and allowed me to be a better thinker, better at working with people, better at losing. You know what I mean? Like being okay with losing. And the thing about magic is you can only get better at it if you understand how wrong you are most of the time. And it helped me be so much better at life because it's like, I mean, just unless you're some genius, you're probably wrong at least half the time about things you think, unless you just aren't thinking about anything. So in magic, you're wrong most of the time until you get really good. And then you have to just pretend you're right, but sometimes you're probably wrong.
That's the poker element.
Yeah. And it's just like, man, it's such a good game for learning. And it really changed me as a human. And I have a really good community through there that I didn't have before. So my main incentive for learning magic was that I read something about like, you know, there's people who are really good at one thing, like 150% do photography, 150%, you know, maybe the Albert Einsteins is the most like widely known person. They just do this one thing and they're freaking good at it.
Yeah.
It's great. You know, we get geniuses out of that. We need those people. We need those people to discover things for the better of humanity. But it comes at a sacrifice, right? Like if you lose that one thing, like I'm doing photography, like that's all I do. If you get rid of photography, I have nothing. So my concept was like, I just need like 5 things. Like I want to be a good photographer, but I want to be a good brother. I want to be a good son. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good magic player. I want to be a good, you know, business owner. I want to be all these other things. And then if something goes away, you have these resources to kind of pick you back up. So you can't really fall, you know, like if you're 80% good at 5 things, you can't really fall too far. That's not possible. Well, you can, but it takes a little bit more effort. If you're just good at one thing, when it goes away, you're pretty low. Like it's pretty detrimental to your life. So I think that that's like the concept I like about magic is it's given me these people, like the downside of like, obviously I've experienced this on a very small scale, but it's still relevant, is like when you're good at something or people want something from you, like sometimes you meet people and you have not genuine interactions, right? Like they're interacting with you for ulterior motives, which is kind of confusing for me who doesn't really act that way. So I don't really see it in other people. So it kind of comes at like, oh, I don't even know these things exist. How are they happening? Like you don't have a radar for it because you don't see that in other people. I don't see this negative. So the thing about magic is like, these people don't give a shit what I do, who I am, or anything. They really just bring me back down to earth, and I hang out with them, and they're my normal friends, and we're just nerds, you know, playing with cardboard for too long. And it's a really good environment to seek honesty and not somebody who's just, you know, trying to, I don't know what people want. But yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about the rant.
No, I mean, I love that. And like, I feel like you touched on so many great points with it. And it's fucking crazy to me because some people could play magic and be like, yeah, cool, man. Like I get it. You have to tap the land and get the person's life down to 20. And I had fun with it for a couple months and then I was done. So like, there's, you know, like I get it.
Maybe you gotta enjoy it. Yeah, I guess.
Maybe not everyone's going to see it like you do, but like what it represents to you and the fundamentals that it has showed you is fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's a good game.
That's so crazy. And I also like, I don't know, I very much do kind of get that side. And like, I hope that I'm not.
Andrew plays magic too.
I do play Magic, and I wish that we had such a good thing going. Like, we lived in San Diego and we were like neighbors, and we'd go to the gym together and we'd play Magic. And
yeah.
then I moved up to LA, and
so Andrew
bailed
moved to
on
San
my
Diego
pal.
and by chance moved to the exact same road I live on, like less than a mile, like half a mile from me, and the Magic store opened up on his block.
Good old Georgia Street, man. I miss it.
Yeah.
Because we both moved away from Georgia Street.
I still have my lease. I still have 2 leases.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, because the person I live with still lives at the other place.
Oh, and you just kept the lease going for them? Yeah. That's funny. That's nice of you.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, we got fucked up too when the bridge closed. That was an annoying thing for our friendship. That was an extra 5 minutes of commute. That's too much of a tangent. We don't need to talk about the Georgia Street Bridge closing. The listener is going to be like, dude, like I humored your Magic rant. I don't get it.
I love how the whole podcast you interact with this almighty, ominous, the listener.
The listener.
Just who did you listen to that refers to them as the listener on the podcast?
That's common with podcasts.
That's what they say?
Yeah.
And to the listener?
Think about it. Right now, it's just us, but like...
I don't need to think about it. I understand 100% what you mean.
The listener
It's very straightforward,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make it any less funny.
As the listener is here with us right now in headphones, as they're listening back to this, we're here with the listener. So the listener...
Andrew, you don't have to explain it. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting on the fact of how funny it is.
Yeah, I'm doing it like I'm trying to hang out with the listener. When we're talking here, in my head, the listener's chilling right there, just quiet. Like they're just like fly on the wall, and they're like, "All right, so this is what you guys talk about, huh?"
All right, fair enough.
So you're
I'm not hating on you. I was just reflecting on it.
This is definitely the realest episode so far of like, we covered your story and all that, but like for the listener, I promise you, this is just a conversation with Adam and I. This is any other fucking day that you put us in a room together. This is what we're talking about.
So yeah, if you thought that you were special, you're not.
I mean, it's special.
If you thought this was privileged, it wasn't.
If it's privileged in the sense of if you want to hear us banter, this is...
Welcome to 2 Magic players talking.
You're here. Here we are. But no, I don't know. I don't want to ramble it too much. I think we really did cover your story. I mean, I hope we
didn't ramble it too much.
I mean, I don't.
It's a little late for that.
Yeah, fuck. But like, is there like, I don't want to glaze over the fact of how cool of a career you have had, and like you've been able to travel the world and work with like really fucking cool artists now. But more so than just any artist, I think what's cool is like you have made a brand and a name for yourself. You figured out a way to make a career out of a job that's very hard to live off of. You've pushed boundaries of, you know, finding you teach classes, right? Like you'll do these entire seminars where you'll rent venues and you'll teach kids. Like you'll have an entire empty venue and you'll have a class of 30 odd kids. Is it? I don't know how many kids is.
Not kids.
Kids, sorry.
This is not a concert.
People.
Kids is a term that people use to refer to anybody who's at a concert.
Yeah, why is that actually?
I don't know. It's just like a term, but it doesn't.
That
it's not referring to their age or their maturity or their amount of respect. Because I know kids is generally like a oh, you're a kid. It's just a term for that group.
That's so funny. You're
so
right.
when referring to these people, though, it's students.
Students.
People
yeah.
who want to learn.
Yeah.
Who want to get better. Yeah.
So is it 30 odd students?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's like from what I've seen, I haven't attended one yet, and I would love to, honestly. But it seems like a pretty cool group of like, you'll have an entire kind of like conference room, and then you'll do like a venue where everyone has enough space to really get these shots. And like, you've done all of that.
It's fun.
Did I miss anything in your career and in like the everything you've done? Was there any like integral piece where I missed?
Is that the word?
Integral?
Yeah. What's integral?
Maybe I'm just saying it different.
Am I saying it incorrectly?
I'm not sure. I hope the listener can comment and let us know.
Good vocabulary. I don't know. Like a lot of stuff we talked about, I don't remember. So if you don't have questions for me, then I don't have topic starters.
Okay.
Because it kind of just...
Well, I guess then my last point is, well, two. one, perfect world, what do you want to accomplish moving forward and in the future? Like, what are some of the goals and that's okay.
Career-wise, life-wise, what?
Yeah. It can be the smallest or the biggest things. It could be you want to place in a Magic tournament, or it could be like, yo, I haven't thought about that yet. But like, what are some future things that you see for yourself?
Yeah, I just want to shoot some more personal projects. Find things that I'm shooting because like I really enjoy them, like emotionally. So maybe get like I'm a little more connected with myself. And then Magic, yeah, I would like to compete at higher level tournaments and get better. And then just stuff like being healthier, cooking more, getting my neighbors evicted who have a barking dog, things like that.
Are you saying that because there's a barking dog right now?
Yeah, but it just reminded me of it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get evicted soon.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know what to do about that dog. It just does its thing.
I call my, I did get my neighbors evicted.
You're out of hand, man, with the eviction.
I'm sorry. They have dogs that they don't take care of properly and leave them at home all day and they bark. And it's, I think, first and foremost, a terrible thing to do to a living animal.
Yeah, that's fucked up on the animal side.
And then in addition, it's quite selfish and, not very kind to the people who live in that area. So it takes like the right kind of person to disregard so many people at once.
If this is not the most us thing in the world, that you just dropped all of these life accomplishments, like where you're like, yo, I'm trying to like do like more artistic, more down my line of vision art. I'm trying to place in Magic tournaments. And then somehow out of all of that, we start talking about the dog.
Yeah, dogs, man. It's not the dogs that's the issue. It's the people that are being irresponsible.
We're still doing it. We're still talking about them.
Well, it's interesting.
The other part that I did want to touch on, especially because you had such a fucking turmoil, like you went through some shit growing up and getting to where you're at now. If you could go back to the Adam that was in like the worst of it and give that Adam advice from yourself now, what would that be?
This is going to sound like a joke, but it's not. I wish somebody would have taken me in high school, given me a coffee and said, drink this. And then I drink it. And then 10 minutes later, they would just be like, all right, how do you feel? I'd be like, I feel amazing. I'd be like, you can get to this point any day you want without coffee. This is what being happy is like. And I would have been like, whoa, I can just live like this? And like, yeah. And you know how your mind's racing? You can have it without that too. And I'd be like, whoa, really? Because I didn't have coffee at all. And yeah, that was like I wish that I knew what it was like to be like happy, relaxed, and anxiety free at like a younger age, because I existed in a place where like all those things were happening so much that I just didn't know. So I just wish I had a goal sooner that I didn't know existed, because it would help me a lot to aim for something rather than just like constantly just like moving around and wondering why like I go to a photo shoot and like my palms are sweating and I can't even talk, or I get up in front of people and I just freeze. Like I didn't understand that was anxiety, and I didn't understand that like why I couldn't sleep at night, or why I would just like want to cry in parking lots on tour, or I would just want to go home, or I couldn't talk, like all these things. I just didn't understand it. I didn't know that not everybody felt this stuff. So I wish that I just knew that. And people can tell you as much as you want, but you don't understand it. It's just like really hard to understand when there's like nothing even comes remotely close to feeling those ways. It's really hard. So I just wish that I had those moments earlier on in my life to, I think that's why I like video games so much. You can just like zone out and really get into them, and like all the thoughts stop. Yeah. And everything else goes away. Or going to the movies. Those are really easy ways to get there. Yeah. But they're not sustainable. Obviously, you can't just be playing video games constantly while you do other things in life.
Totally. So, but like just seeing a better life and seeing like the side where it wasn't just always that.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be sick. But I have it now, so I'm not complaining. Like I like to think about those funny things because they're fun to touch on, but not for a moment would I ever be like, I wish my life was different.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, that's cool, man. I mean, I feel like we did the damn thing. We could ramble about anything forever.
How long is that?
But let me look. We're at 1 hour 30, which is pretty much on spec.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Did you know you told me you wanted to do 2 hours?
No, I say 1 to 2 hours. So we
Oh,
did
well, we're in the
exactly
middle.
that. We did it.
Okay.
And then we're going to have to factor in like 2 or 3 minutes for the intro.
Okay.
So we did it.
We're done?
We're done.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to me talking. That was Andrew Cram and Adam Elmakias. We appreciate your time. Hope you have a good day. Remember to be a good friend, a good family member, and a good employee for whatever you do in your life. And you can change the world just by changing yourself. All right. I love you.
Damn, fucking hit him with some positivity at the end.
Tell them you love them.
I love him back, yeah.
Yeah. Just
Oh,
love
I do.
people.
I have my whole outro.
Oh, that's not the outro?
Well, I love that you added that. What about like a basic one? Like, where can they find you on social media if they want to talk to you?
Well, funny story. All my stuff is down right now.
Everything?
Yeah. Well, my social media isn't, but yeah, I have everything is my last name or my first and last name. So Adam Elmakias or Elmakias. If you Google it, I'm the only one.
Okay.
And yeah, everything is shut down right now, and my computer's broken. So.
Well, I hope that by the time this episode airs, that
Yeah.
will be a thing of the past.
Yeah, but you can find me on the internet. I don't update as much anymore because I've been working on some things. But I'm hoping I can get back into it.
Maybe by the time the episode airs.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, again, thank you for coming on here. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and thank you for hitting them with that positivity.
Hey, thank you, man.
Thank you for hitting the listener.
I appreciate you. Yeah. Goodbye, listener.
Later, the listener. I love you too.
Good job.
So there you have it, Adam's episode. I hope you liked his little outro there. I felt like he did a great job. I don't think I need to say much more. I will follow up and say that everything is not broken anymore, and he is back online. He has a really, really cool website. It's just adamelmakias.com. You can see all of his work there. You can find him on Instagram at @Elmakias. Yeah, I mean, I really do think that says it all. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I've been having an insanely good time doing these, sitting down with people, getting to tell their full stories, learning these details that might get missed in typical conversation or on social media or whatever. Yeah, just like really getting to tell these stories. So thank you for listening. Thank you for telling your friends. I will be back next week with another episode. Later.